Thank you so much for that wonderful addition, Bongmosa. I agree with you. Look, some of us, we need to unlearn some of the things we have learned when we started our journey within the environment management space. And we need to learn from you, because at least some of you are fresh and others are doing postgrad, qualifications in university. There are new ways of doing things. There is fourth industrial revolution. There are also implications of 4IR in the climate management space, climate change management space. We need to begin to learn from you, take a bit of a back seat and be able to coach from the back seat and allow you space to express yourselves, express your views, and indicate to us, who are more mature, to say, okay, you know what, or who are mature age-wise, but who need to mature also in understanding some of the innovations, modern day innovations that can help address the climate change crisis. So I agree with you. We also need to leverage the dividend and be able to support your programs and projects. Thank you very much for that. I also see there are a number of comments on the chat box. Thanking you, Laeka, also for the presentation. Desiree says there will be an SAYCAP new website soon, and there will be more announcements about more ways to get involved and join the national implementation process. Young people, keep your eyes on that. Once the website is launched, please also, be able to follow those developments. And if you want to participate, I believe there will be space going forward to also participate. Desiree also agrees with you, Mr. Zondo, and Joash says, awesome. Thank you, Desiree. So yes, a lot of good comments also on the chat, and Zama and Tola will keep checking the chat box to also advise me if there are other questions that we need to respond to that come from the chat box. So now we are going to move, but before we move to the next presentation, Ola Ngabeni could not join earlier because of load shedding or technical glitches. I'd like to give Ola maybe just 2 minutes to comment on an earlier presentation by Ms. Nomfundo. Over to you, Ola.
Greetings, everyone. I don't know if I should turn on my camera.
Yes, please.
Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. There. I hope you can all see me. Apply. Yeah. Okay, is that better? Hello?
Yes, we see you. We can see you.
Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Program Director. Unfortunately, I missed the whole presentation altogether. Load shedding just took away our network this side. But I see on the comments, based on the work that we all do, we are currently working with farmers and youth, farmers who are older and youth alike. In our lesson so far, we have had a lot of challenges encouraging youth to participate in the project or in initiatives, because as young people, as much as we want to do agriculture, but agriculture takes time, and the whole climate change thing we don't really see it as an effect in our daily now living. So in most instances, the challenge is keeping them interested and keeping them involved. In most cases, they want to be finding employment, things that can earn them an income, and hence, as the project, we've also started to find ways to find the markets, do the nutritional workshops that Nomfundo spoke about in her presentation. So in many ways, there are challenges with working with the youth, but the lessons that we are learning is, like Mr. Zondo said previously, is to keep things moving, changing with the times, but in that way we are able to involve them in things that are of interest. And yeah, so there are a lot of lessons that we are learning. We are making a lot of progress in that regard. And we, with upcoming projects as well, we are hoping to involve youth in new areas, such as eThekwini and other municipalities. I don't know if Namvundo mentioned this in her presentation. But of that, we are taking the lessons that we've learned from our ongoing sites now, and we'll be taking that into our new partnerships with the new municipalities as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mabeni, for that addition, and also indicating some of the work that you will be doing in the not too distant future with the youth. We really appreciate that. And thank you so much to all the previous speakers who have spoken and presenters. Keep up the good work, Laika and colleagues working on the SAY CAP. We are looking forward to developments in that space as well. The next speaker is Ms. Nokuphila Buthelezi. Ms. Nokuphila Buthelezi is a program manager in the Environmental Planning and Climate Protection Department in the eThekwini municipality. She holds an MSc degree in environmental science from the University of KwaZulu-Natal. And before joining eThekwini, Nokuphila was a project manager for the Bremen-Durban Marine Environmental Education Network. This project was jointly implemented by eThekwini and Free Hanseatic City of Bremen in Germany. So it was a collaboration between the city of Bremen as well as the eThekwini municipality as part of the climate change partnership between the two cities. Siyabonga, who will comment after Ms. Nokuphila has presented, was also part of the Bremen project, and would like him to be ready after Nokuphila has presented to also maybe chip in and make some additions after Nokuphila has presented. Over to you, Ms. Buthelezi. Ms. Buthelezi is going to speak on Oceans Champs program. That is the title of her presentation, Oceans Champs program. Let's hear about Oceans Champs. Over to you, Ms. Buthelezi.
Thank you, Tabani. I will just try and project the presentation. Please confirm if you can see it.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. We would love to see you, and then you can switch off your camera after you start presenting.
No problem.
If that's okay with you.
Let's see. That's fine. I'll just have to switch my background. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, that's taking a bit of time. So sorry, I can't switch the background. But as the moderator has introduced me, my name is Nokuphila Buthelezi, and I'm coming from the Environmental Planning and Climate Protection Department at eThekwini Municipality. I was previously working as a consultant, and during that time from 2018 to 2019, I was a program manager for the Bremen-Durban Ocean Champs program, and I was driving this vehicle with Ms. Chumisa Tengwa, who unfortunately I don't think she was able to join us. So today I will be presenting about the program. I'll just switch off, it's a bit distracting. Let me try and expand the presentation. There we go. So I'll just talk about the program, present the model that we implemented back in 2018 to 2019, talk about how the recruitment process took place, some of the events that the Ocean Champs conducted, some of the successes of the project, and also look at challenges as well as the learnings that came from this program. So the long name for the program was called the Bremen-Durban Marine Environmental Education Network. But of course, we shortened it to the Bremen-Durban Ocean Champs. And our tagline was a new wave of leaders, since it just focused on youth around Durban. I thought I'd give a bit of a background and content into how this program was conceived. So I'm sure we're all aware that we are living in a blue planet, and about 71% of the earth is covered by the ocean. And for us, oceans are playing a very vital role, especially in terms of the global ecosystem, in that they are hosting most of our biodiversity, as you can see in this picture. And the oceans feed us, they regulate our climate, they generate about 50% of the oxygen that we breathe in. But over and above that, they do contribute to the world's economy. So by supporting sectors such as tourism, fisheries, as well as some of the international shipping. But despite their global importance and significance, marine and coastal ecosystems are at risk, unfortunately. Many of the fish stocks are being overfished, they almost depleted, and also many of our important ecosystems, such as our mangroves, our coral reefs, are being threatened by human activities and climate change. And I think globally, there's just been this realization that perhaps we need a more enhanced action in order to conserve and sustainably use our marine and ocean resources. And that's how then the Bremen-Durban Ocean Champ program was conceived. So as our moderator did mention, it is a program that is jointly implemented or was implemented by eThekwini Municipality and the Free Hanseatic city of Bremen, which is in Germany, sorry, and it was done as part of the long-standing climate change partnership between the two cities. The main objective of the Bremen-Durban Ocean Champs program was firstly to contribute to the protection of the sea, the reduction of pollution, and therefore have an effect on climate change. So focusing in coastal areas such as Durban. The second one was to ensure that we provide young people or youth in Durban with opportunities to explore, to discover, and also value marine and coastal habitats. And this would ultimately lead to them having behavioral changes within their communities and societies. And thirdly, we wanted young people in Durban to be aware of the importance of seas for climate change and take an active role as an ocean champ or as an ocean advocate in the area of environmental protection. Because if the youth know about the importance of the seas and our oceans, then they'll have more empathy towards it and want to protect as well as conserve the oceans. So in terms of the timeframes, the project started around November 2017, which is when the agreements were signed between the city of Bremen and Durban, and it ended in December 2019. And the region in which it took place is eThekwini Municipality. And with regards to the funding, 90% of the funding did come from BMZ, which is in Germany. And then the 10% was contributed equally by eThekwini Municipality and the city of Bremen. In terms of the target group, we were mainly targeting youth in Durban as well as Bremen. We targeted teachers and environmental educators, some of the stakeholders in the marine space. So this ranges from politicians, businesses, and civil society. Now, just to take you through the beginning phases, there was firstly the project launch that took place around February 2018. And as you can see in the pictures, the event was supported by eThekwini leadership, including our former mayor and councillors who were part of the climate change committee. And it was very clear from the attendance of this event that there was a willingness from our city as well as leadership to take up this immense task. They were supporting it and putting it right under their wing. So we were very excited about that. But also the event was an opportunity to present the program to the public at large. The next step for us was creating a brand. So developing a brand or a look and feel, as well as a logo, was very crucial informing this project. So we needed to ensure that there's visibility. We needed to enhance communication so we can speak to youth around Durban. We needed to make the program overall appealing, especially to our target group. And to do that, we did firstly create a website where we could interact with youth, where youth could read about this partnership and some of the ocean champs that were involved. We had social media presence, Twitter accounts, Facebook, YouTube, as well as Instagram. And then from there, we were ready to then recruit the program participants. And the program was broken up into three. So firstly, we had the Ocean Champs. So the Ocean Champs mainly included youth who were aged from 18 to 25. It was advertised in Ezasekakasini newspaper. We also had adverts on Facebook and some of the social media platforms. The youth were shortlisted. I think we had around 200 or over applications, and interviews were conducted. Then we selected the 15 youth that best fit the program. The second one was centered around schools. So it was the Ocean Champ Schools program, which was open to schools in the southern area of eThekwini municipality. So there as well, we sent out a program, or rather, we asked the schools to join, and we approached them directly, but there was very little response or feedback. So we had to re-advertise and ensure that we rather use a more targeted approach to do this. And the last one was the environmental educators and school teachers program. It was open to educators in eThekwini. Adverts went out. Because of the little response we received, we used broader communication channels, which proved to be a success for us. So once the groups had been established, we then ended up with the first program, which I mentioned, so the core Ocean Champions. So this entailed of 14 unemployed matriculated youth between the ages of 18 to 25. And the youth was actually afforded an opportunity to become champs. In that way, they were going to expand their knowledge on the marine environment through educational programs and trainings. But also, over and above that, they were very fortunate in that eThekwini Municipal Academy came on board. So this meant that we were able to enroll the youth in a learnership program for a period of 24 months, and they actually received a stipend for that period. And in terms of some of the workshops and trainings that the youth or the 14 Ocean Champs attended during the 2 years, there was a basic marine ecology training or course. There was a marine plastic pollution training. And this training was specifically delivered by some of the experts from Berman. We wanted to ensure also that the youth do get accredited training and they can have a tangible qualification when they leave our program. So one of those was the nature site guiding training, NQF2. And most importantly, we also had an NQF5, which was the environmental education training and development practice. And we wanted to ensure with this training that we address the skills shortage and create employment opportunities for our youth. But also by having this qualification, it meant that they can compete and be more competitive in the job as well as the consultancy market. There was also project management training that they attended. But overall, with the skills that they acquired, it was leadership, entrepreneurship. They learned about public speaking as well as communication skills. And from there, they were then able to undertake roundtable discussions with decision makers from politics to businesses, as well as civil society. The second group that was established was the 35 learners. So this is the schools group from grade 8 and 9 from the 6 schools in eThekwini, and they attended 2 workshops, mainly the basic marine ecology course and marine pollution. They also embarked on some study trips at the mangrove tour and carried out small projects and competitions within their schools. And then with the school teachers program or marine educators program, we ended up with 13 marine environmental educators and school teachers. They also attended workshops, and they were able to then contribute towards some of the development of teaching material and some of the education manuals that we were producing for the youth. There was also a knowledge exchange that was taking place, so with the teachers and marine experts from Bremen as well as Durban. And we had hoped that whatever they're using, they could incorporate in marine education, and it can be in line with the demands of the school's curriculum. In the next few slides, I will be just highlighting some of the events that were done and some of the activities that were done by the Ocean Champs throughout the 2 years. With this first slide, it just focuses on the training that took place. So the lady in the yellow jacket, the first picture, those were our educators attending training at Sambra at Ushaga Marine. And you can see at the top, those are some of the participants that went on the Wild Oceans Angra Pequena, which is a research yacht that offers a very unique learning platform for marine science, and it also contributes to capacity building. The youth in the blue tops are school groups also attending a training at Ushaga Marine. We have the lady in the white top, and she's part of the core 14 ocean champions, and you can see they're using laboratory equipment. And we must remember that most of the youth that participated did come from marginalized communities. They weren't familiar with labs, or they had never used laboratory equipment before. So this was a very good opportunity and very exciting times for them. And other activities that took place, the Ocean Champs did mobilize youth in Durban and undertook a number of beach cleanups. They hosted a plastic-free walk campaign along the Durban beachfront, and this event was a huge success for us. It was attended by over 180 participants, and the main purpose for it was just to raise awareness, public awareness about the threats of marine plastic pollution on our oceans. And then with this next slide, so it highlights some of the awareness and advocacy campaigns that took place. So the youth did develop a very visible movement, I'd say, in communities as well as on social media. And because of that, they were now being increasingly invited to our local schools as well as communities to just raise awareness and also inspire other youth in Durban to lead a sustainable lifestyle. So you can see they are speaking at schools, they are facilitating some activities at schools. They were invited to exhibitions where they put up our stands and promotional material. Some of the youth were also at East Coast Radio to speak about the program and just encourage you to take part in such a good initiative. They also participated in very peaceful protests that were taking place against ocean mining. And with this next slide, this is when our 14 core ocean champs actually went to Germany. They embarked on a study tour to Bremen, and when they were there, they had an opportunity to engage in a learning exchange with the Bremerhaven Youth Climate Council. And they were very fortunate. So the picture on the right-hand side, the youth in Bremen actually staged a special Friday for the Future movement for the Ocean Champs. And this was done in order for the Ocean Champs to see how they can mobilize themselves to engage in awareness campaigns around climate change. And with this next slide, the movement, the Ocean Champs movement did gain a lot of momentum in Durban. On this day, they were commemorating Youth Day. And at the event, there were over 61 youth that actually pledged to become ocean champions and ensure that they advocate for the protection as well as conservation of our oceans. And with the slide here, this was the Youth Climate Council launch. This is when the 14 core ocean champs, it took place at the Durban ICC. So they championed the establishment of the Durban Youth Climate Council, and they were able to then canvass other youth environmental organizations to form a structure that gave youth an opportunity to take part in climate change making decisions. And we wanted to ensure that youth does have a voice at the table and they can actually contribute to climate change discourses that take place in the city. And as mentioned previously, with all programs and projects, there are challenges. So there were a few challenges in terms of implementing this great project. And one of them was a delay in signing the agreement. The idea was that the program would start in 2017 January, but it only started in November. And obviously, this was to be expected when we have two cities in different parts of the world that wanted to take part in such an initiative. There was also the establishment of the youth or participants, which only took place in June 2018. So there was a delay with that as well. And I think there's also the very rigid procurement system at the municipality. It led to a delay in a few of our very important activities that we wanted to undertake. I think my colleagues will understand. So in order for you to buy anything, to get any kind of training, you have to then advertise, and it has to be a competitive bidding process. If you don't get enough submissions, you have to re-advertise. So it's a process, and it did cause a huge delay in some of the implementation that we're trying to do. There was also a delay in filling some of the important posts. So we were hoping to have a project officer, a manager, a facilitator, and these are roles that were identified as critical for the project. But we only ended up with a project manager as well as Ukumisa, who was running the project. So with the learnings that came out of this, I think the very first one was the effective relationships and partnerships that were built with marine and environmental organizations. I mean, the likes of Wild Oceans, Sambra, WESA, climate change organizations around Durban, youth groups. It was more than we had imagined. It was more than we had envisaged. So there was a great support from other organizations that had been in the marine space for much longer than we had. And also just a dedicated core team that kept the communication lines open. There was a team in Durban and Bremen who had to make sure that they drive this vehicle and it becomes a success, which I think it was. And more importantly, we had support from political leadership, not only in Durban, but also in Bremen. There were mayors and councillors that were involved, and they actually assisted in the successful implementation of this program. And last but not least, it was selection criteria that we used. We were very fortunate to get very passionate, involved, and proactive youth. I mean, of the 15 that we selected in the beginning, we only had one person drop out, but we continued with 14 youth that were very motivated over the 2-year process. I have presented the model, and I think it's an opportunity for us to maybe explore and try and replicate this project in other cities, of course, if we are able to leverage the funding to do so. Thank you very much for your attention and for the opportunity to present on the program.
Thank you so much, Nokpila, for your presentation. Very clear, a very wonderful project between Bremen and Durban, between Germany and South Africa. And the lessons learned from that project, as well as your recommendation to say, okay, how can we kind of replicate this project in other cities, coastal cities around South Africa, provided we can get funding to do that. We can partner with other countries as well, or with other coastal cities around the world. It's a very good project, very good initiative, exposing young people in particular to issues of marine ecology, marine economy, as well as research work that is being done, the tour on that floating laboratory. I believe that even teachers were empowered with the resource material that was developed through the program. Overall, great presentation. Thank you very much. I'll invite Siyabonga to also maybe make some 2-3 minutes comments over and above your presentation. Siyabonga, if you are in the room, please also make your input. Maybe Nokpila, please indicate if Siyabonga is here again.
I am not too sure, but maybe if he's not, I do actually have a clip, very short clip, I think 2 minutes, from another ocean champ. So I don't know if we should give it a few seconds to check if Usia is here. If not, then I can just try and play that clip.
Oh, excellent. Okay. Maybe whilst you prepare the clip, Nokpila, let us check again if Siyabonga is here. Siyabonga was part of the Oceans Champions program. Doesn't look like Siyabonga is here. Maybe let's move on to, the clip.
Okay, let me try. I'm not very tech savvy, but hopefully this will work. Can you see it?
We can see a slide. It doesn't look like a clip, but I don't know. It says activities undertaken. I think it's still part of your it's slide 13 of your presentation. Maybe if you can pull that down and go to the clip.
Let me pull that down and see if I can project the clip. Can you see a young lady's face?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yes. Let me try and play it.
No, Pillar, there's no sound.
Sorry?
There is no sound. There's no sound from the video.
Oh no. Okay. Maybe what I could do, if you would allow me, moderator, is to share it with Ukola and see if we can't maybe play it towards the end. Maybe she'll be able to project and we'll get sound on that.
Yes, that is perfectly fine. Please share it with Ola and let's see if we're able to play it towards the end. And let's take it from there.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, a virtual round of applause for Nokpila. Oceans Champ program, wonderful program which has exposed our young people to issues of the coast with the intention to make them champions for the coast, to learn about coastal issues, to also contribute towards the minimization of marine pollution through being good ambassadors for our coastal environment. And also teachers also benefiting, through the programs that were implemented through that project. Then our next presentation, ladies and gentlemen, will be from Susan Ramsanda as well as Joash Govinsamy. Joash and Susanne will be presenting on supporting youth innovation and entrepreneurship in Durban. I will encourage members to contribute still on the Youth Champs program on the chat box. In the interest of time, if we do save some time towards the end of the program, we'll then go back to some of the presentations which we did not give adequate time to discuss on. But at this point in time, let us hear about supporting youth innovation and entrepreneurship in Durban. So over to you, Joash and Susanne.
Thank you so much, Tabani. Thank you for that. Morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting Innovate Durban to be part of this platform this morning. My job is fairly simple this morning. Before I hand over to Joash, I think I'm here to share how Innovate Durban works in the innovation ecosystem here and what platforms are available for the youth in terms of the challenge. I'm going to just share my screen and turn off my video to allow for a better experience. You can just give me a second. Just checking that everyone can see my screen, slide 1 on Innovate Durban.
Yes, we can
see it.
Okay, great. Sorry, it's just I obviously can't see anything, but it keeps on switching back. But hopefully you can see my screen now. Okay, great. So like I said, for me today, my job is fairly simple. I'm just going to, in summary and a very high level overview around Innovate Durban, who we are and the platforms in terms of how we support innovation in the ecosystem in the region and how youth can access our services as such. I'm not going to go into too much of details, but our mandate is to support innovators as well as innovation in the region and to look at issues that solve for social, structural, and systematic problems that prevent economic growth in our region as well. So just a little bit of background, Innovate Durban was in fact set up by the municipality as the innovation program, and then later on was set up as an independent nonprofit entity. So we are actually set up as a special purpose vehicle to support innovation, innovators, and the innovation ecosystem. And the way we do that is through our programs, research, and capacity building and skills development. And these programs and activities are supported through virtual and physical platforms as well as events. This is just a timeline in terms of how Innovate Durban was established. Like I mentioned, we are part of the innovation program of the city, and we hope that our services and program offerings will then extend to the region in terms of its mandates. I'm just going to briefly touch on our program areas to give some context and some program offering information to the youth that are joining the call, so you can see how innovation is supported in the region and how they can access these services as well. Innovate Durban has 3 main program areas. Our first program area is innovation support. This is any program, event, or activity that supports innovators and innovation in the region. We have our flagship program, which is our Youth Innovation Challenge. Recently, to provide some context, we hosted our Youth Innovation Challenge for 2021, and we aligned this to responding to crisis in light of or in lieu of the year that we've had with the pandemic going on 2 years, as well as the recent civil unrest in the region as well as in Gauteng. And for us, we premise this around the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals as well. And we looked at SDG 2, 9, 11, and 12. And some of that is the SDGs that are actually being spoken about today here as well. The Youth Innovation Challenge allows youth to enter the competition and help to solve for real issues that are faced in industry as well. We have our Startup Support Program, which is our accelerated mentorship program. Here, youth usually come in, even if you have a basic idea or concept that's innovative, but you don't necessarily have the business or technical skills. The Startup Support Program is designed to support you in that process, to help you take you from concept to a market-ready product. And then we have our Innovator Support Program and Fund, which is an ad hoc program no matter what stage of innovation you are in, where we can plug in to support you with innovation support, whether it is prototype testing or development or seed funding for some equipment, provided it is within the mandate that we are speaking about as well. And then we have our pitching dens, which is for businesses that are already in existence and want to scale up, and that is to provide support to them on that level where they can win prize money to take that idea further as well. I'm not going to focus too much on the other program areas because for the purpose of today, I do believe that innovation support is one of the areas and service offerings as Innovate Durban that we offer to plug into this whole ecosystem and the challenges that we're facing. Having said that, I will just mention that the two other program areas is around capacity building and skills development, where we focus on future skills, including drone training, pilot training and acceleration, coding, robotics, and design thinking. We have an in-house design thinking facilitator that supports that, and that's really around looking and solving for a user-centric approach and innovative approach as well. And in research, which is really for us to look at what are the gaps and opportunities in this ecosystem. And from there, we've developed a number of projects and publications that are available on our website in our resources tab, where you can actually have access to service providers in the innovation space, where you can look at the statistics in terms of research and development, number of people producing innovations, innovation events through our publication, and also looking at the ecosystem map in terms of entrepreneurship and innovation. I do also want to touch on an additional platform that is available to all the youth in terms of access, which we're hoping to obviously expand. We launched our first Township Innovation Collab in 2020. It was a week before the country went into lockdown level 5, which was rather unfortunate. It is set up in Cato Manor, and it is designed to provide decentralized access to the community where people can access digital tools, skills, and training through this lab, and also training opportunities as well. And so that is one of our physical platforms where people can have access to 4IR skills and tools as such. And then I just want to talk about a theme around our Innovation Festival, which is around thinking globally and acting locally, and the whole premise about thinking bigger and acting on a smaller scale. And I know many people have seen this a number of times. For a number of years, the whole premise around hunger is a logistical issue. Hunger is a technological issue. And when we look at some of the SDGs and ending hunger and alternative food sources, there's so much that can be solved, resolved, or innovated around if we just look at what technology is available and innovation available for us to help solve these issues. There is food available, but not necessarily access to that. So whilst in many countries that are torn by hunger, we do see that kilometers away would be a central city or town, and the only issue preventing people is access through logistics, etc. Which brings me to what this whole process around innovation is about, and the focus should be around focusing on our solutions, using technology and innovation as an enabling factor. I think especially when we look at climate issues, if we looked at the first industrial revolution and second industrial revolution as well, in terms of harnessing steam, we would possibly look at things differently if the knowledge and innovation and technology that was available to us was available then in terms of the impact of fossil fuels down the line. And so we need to think about how we innovate responsibly. We need to look at an inclusive approach in terms of biodiversity, which is critical to climate change. And how do we innovate for longevity as such? And so those are just some of the key points I would just like to bring to the fore in the discussion. Before I hand over to really Joe Ash, who will be sharing his innovation with us. Here are details if you need to get hold of us, as well, just in terms of any program offerings or services that you're looking for, or if you are a entrepreneur, startup, or youth with an innovative idea looking to solve for a problem that can serve the greater good, or as a startup as well, you can contact us for more information on that process. Just want to stop sharing my screen. Just want to stop sharing my screen. There you go. And I also just want to introduce Joe Ash.
Hello.
So I want to introduce Joe Ash, who is a founder and CEO of Green Coal Technology. In 2016, he won the Innovate Durban Youth Innovation Challenge. He has a background in microbiology and used his skills to innovate an aquaponics farming method, which uses 60% less water than conventional vegetable farming. And Joash is passionate about creating innovations to help solve world problems. And he is inspired by the phrase, the ability to turn chaos into order. And so I'd like to hand over to Joash for his presentation as well. Thank you so much, Joash.
Thank you. I hope everyone can hear me clear.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So I'm Joash Govinsamy, and I started an aquaculture company based in Bedlam, KwaZulu-Natal. And our main motto is to create healthy, delicious fish that's environmentally and sustainably produced. So our core gist of our company is to create a food system that's reliable and that can provide our cities with a surefire way for food. As you know, climate change is affecting our food crops. The UN has predicted that our population will reach to about 9 billion in just 35 years' time. So it's imperative that we have a new food system that can feed our growing populations. And I believe that my technology has the potential to do that. And I know Ola has a video that showcases my company, and if she's around, maybe she can play it for me.
Okay, let me do that.
Thank you.
Colleagues, I'm just going to need an indication that you can see the video.
We can see your screen, but not the video. Or maybe if you select.
Okay, let me just start over.
Yes, we can see it now. Thank you. The volume, though, there was volume earlier, but not anymore.
Sorry, Josh, can you hear?
No, we can't hear. We heard them earlier, but now we can't hear the video. Yeah.
Click your computer sound before you share. It's on that button before you share it. Just turn it on.
Try that again. I had.
Yes, excellent.
Yeah, Dingo Technologies are trying to address the problem associated with conventional fish farming. So conventional fish farming, usually it's done in rivers or in ponds, where you have your fish farm that uses high levels of chemicals, high levels of antibiotics, and produces a large amount of waste. Now, usually those wastes flow downstream and destroy ecosystems and the natural environment. So we are trying to solve problems where we can sustainably and environmentally farm fish. Our innovation involves a closed loop system where we have two tanks, one tank containing the phytoplankton and one tank containing the fish. Now, you may be wondering what phytoplankton is. Well, phytoplankton are microscopic plants. And similar to microscopic plants, or similar to your normal terrestrial plants, phytoplankton convert carbon dioxide to oxygen and ammonia into biomass. So those are two products that our fish produce. So the tank containing our fish produce ammonia and carbon dioxide, and that water flows in our closed containment system or closed loop system into our phytoplankton tank. Now the phytoplankton remove the ammonia and the carbon dioxide, converting the ammonia into biomass and the carbon dioxide into oxygen. This water, which is now rich in oxygen and removed of any pollutant such as ammonia, flow into the fish and the cycle continues. So we have created a closed loop system where the fish are reliant on our phytoplankton and our phytoplankton are reliant on our fish for ammonia and carbon dioxide, and our fish are reliant on our phytoplankton to remove the carbon dioxide and any other pollutants such as ammonia. One of the toughest challenges I had to overcome in my innovation journey was bridging the gap between science and business. My background is in science, and I did my degree, a science degree. And so one of my toughest challenges was to bridge my innovation and matching it or commercializing it into a business aspect. So sometimes that can be overwhelming. And as I say, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, and breaking down those big challenges in a daily and diligent way can help you achieve success. The support I received was actually from various organizations. Innovation was made possible by the International Labour Organization, Invotech, and Innovate Durban, who helped greatly in funding as well as in business skills development to help me reach where I am today in building my prototype. And I'm actually currently in the process of expanding my business to make it more commercially viable to penetrate the markets better. One of my biggest lessons is implementing SMART goals. So goals that are focused and strategic with a time limit, of course, and something that you can do daily to reach bigger goals. I wish I knew in the start of my innovation journey is the fact that you don't always need capital to start your innovation. Sometimes using what you have around you is the most important thing when you start an innovation. I mean, being innovative is the fact that you can use the things around you to make something happen. And I believe that that's the part of what an innovative heart is. You don't always need capital, and you can even develop skills needed for business without capital. Although it is important, but it isn't always the most essential part to a business. I would like to see my innovative technologies used throughout the world to help benefit our environment and the people, creating jobs and making our world a greener place to live in. We are trying to reach as an end user of our innovation individuals, restaurants, supermarkets, and fish markets. I have tested my innovation with end users, and their general response was positive with the fact that I received repeat business as well as them saying that they actually enjoyed the fish product that I sold.
Thank you so much for watching my presentation. You know, at my company, we have a saying, you give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, and you teach a man to fish and you feed him for life. But we take it one step further. We say you teach a man to farm fish and you feed him and his generations to follow. And our hope is that our technology will help create a greener future and a better food system for all of us. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Susan and Joash. Thank you to Innovate Durban program as well as to Green Goals technology. We've learned a lot. You teach a man to farm fish, you feed him for the rest of his life as well as his generations. Thank you for that innovation, Mr. Joash. Joash is the CEO of Green Gold Technology with experience in microbiology, and the innovation and the technology you have come up with, I'm sure it's going to change the fish farming industry. And I believe also that young people who are present in this webinar are also learning about issues of aquaculture, because it's a field also that has a lot of potential. And I'm sure Joash will also be willing to share his contact details if you need more information on the green gold technology. Thank you to the two presenters, Susan on Innovate Devon. She's the head, the lead person in that, and also the CEO and founder of Green Gold Technology. Colleagues, at this point in time, I will maybe allow 5 minutes just for colleagues to engage with the presentation from supporting youth innovation and entrepreneurship in Durban for about 5 minutes. Thereafter, I'll give over to Ola, who is going to speak on the announcement feedback form. And then on the feedback form, yes, on the feedback form. And thereafter, we'll give some of the senior management within eThekwini to comment on the webinar as a whole, and then we will then make announcements later. Can I give 2-3 minutes for reflections, comments, questions on the innovation presentation? Okay, yes, Mr. Zondo.
I'm sorry, Tabana.
Please
I
remember
think
to
colleagues and participants maybe, I don't know. Hello. Can I go ahead, Taban?
Yes, please go ahead, Mr. Zondo.
Yeah, I was saying that I feel that maybe colleagues and participants are afraid to share their ideas, maybe for the sake of IP protection. I think in this case, we may as well share our ideas. I mean, since this morning, we have seen really fantastic work that is being done from the scene setting presentation and the cases or the case study that has been presented. And I mean, really, what I would say is that we have got a long way in really bringing this all together, like it's been raised by Mumbo Ungunezi from University of KwaZulu-Natal, to say that it really needs that we collaborate better so that we can maximize impact. There's a lot going on, and we must appreciate the innovation that has been shared here. And I feel that we have really started in a good way, Tabani. I mean, I will propose that we go ahead and strengthen this relationship so that we can see more happening in different places, from eThekwini, uMzinyathi, Mgungundlovu, Herikwala, King Cetshwayo, Uthukela, and many other districts within the province. But again, why not within other provinces as well? As we say in eThekwini, we are a gateway to Africa. Of course, we do not claim to be the only gateway, but what if we're also equally a gateway to innovation and dealing with the sustainability and climate resilience in cities, especially with the growing people living in cities? How do we feed this ever-growing urban population with healthy food, reducing our health bills, and ensuring that people live fulfilling lives and healthy lives, as it were? I think there's a challenge that we need to put together and see how we can then address that collectively through an all-of-society approach. Thank you, Taban.
No, thank you, Bongomusa, for that. Very valuable points there to say, okay, as we want to intensify food production, how can we ensure that the food we are producing is still healthy and we can feed the ever-growing population? And I think technology has a very huge role to play in that. And I think Susanne made mention of the fact that hunger is not only a logistical issue, it's also a technological issue. So we need to look at innovation, even around issues of agriculture, innovation around issues of food security. As we speak about climate smart agriculture, we need innovation there. We need applications which farmers can use to be able to pick up what the weather will be like, when to plant, want, and all of those kinds of innovations from that space of applications development, there is room there for young people to innovate on those issues. So thank you very much. I think this is an eye-opener. This is a great start, like you are saying, Bong Musa. We are looking forward, to great ideas and innovation coming into the fore. Thank you very much. I'll give this time now to Xola for the feedback form. Xola, can you please take us through the feedback form? And thereafter, I am advised that there are other senior managers present here. Would like to invite them to comment on what they have seen so far. And perhaps as senior managers look at the presentations, they also get ideas in terms of how can we take this work forward. If you are responsible for a particular unit within the municipality and you see areas of collaboration with the stakeholders, with young people, maybe there are ideas that came up as presenters were presenting. So please share with us those kinds of ideas and comments and suggestions, as our senior administrative leadership. Maybe Ola first, and then we'll take senior management.
Good morning once again, colleagues. I have just posted a feedback form on the chat. So if you can please just follow the link and give us feedback on your impression of the webinar, and just also suggestions on what you would like to see next. I must say, with the registration form, a lot of you took the time to give us your expectations and so on, and we appreciate that. And I'm hoping we'll also get good responses with this feedback form as well. Mr. Gambu, I have also received the video from Nokpila, so you'll just indicate if you've got a few minutes for me to play it. Thank you, colleagues.
Oh, yes, Xola. I think let us play the video from Nopila, and we will then take the session with the senior management after the video.
Greetings, my name is Tholos Elisibia and I'm one of the 15 that were selected to be part of the Berman Devon Ocean Championship.
I'm sorry, colleagues, is the video playing?
Yes.
Oh.
It was until you change the screen.
My name is Tholos Elisibia and I'm one of the 15 that were selected to be part of the Berman Devon Ocean Champions project. This project was jointly implemented by Etugu Municipality in partnership with the city of Bremen, which is in Germany. After finishing high school, I was confused and I didn't know what career path I wanted to follow. So I wanted something that was going to provide clarity and provide me with an exposure to the working environment and actually make me realize what I'm passionate about. And being part of the Ocean Champions project provided that for me and so much more. And I'll be eternally grateful for that opportunity. What I loved most about being an Ocean Champ was that after attending endless trainings and workshops, we were given a chance to implement whatever that we've learned, to actually go out there, raise awareness, educate people, come up with campaigns and our own pilot projects, from designing to actually implementing them, so that we prepared for the workplace or for our academic life or for our personal life. And after the project, I applied for the Blue Flag project under WESA to become a beach steward. So the Blue Flag project basically focuses on the national coastal conservation and tourism programs, and my duty or my role as a beach steward is being an ocean champ, because on a daily basis I'm given an opportunity to raise awareness, to come up with environmental education, environmental activities for tourism along our coastlines, so that they find it worth it to bring their families the next time, or they keep visiting our coastlines, and ensuring that when they leave, they leave the same way that they found it. And I couldn't be much more grateful for the opportunity of being a champ.
Thank you very much. I take it that's the end of the video, and thank you so much for the reflections on the program between Bremen and Durban. We really thank the feedback because it does show that it is a program that impacted the participants. And we are looking forward to other collaborations such as those with other cities within Africa and beyond Africa. It will be great to also see those kind of learning exchanges between youth in South Africa and other countries within the continent as well as beyond the continent. So the Bremen-Durban, partnership is kind of an example of that kind of things that we'd like to see. To young people, we would always share these opportunities with you as and when we get them to try and give you exposure. As Bong Musa said earlier on, it's time for some of us to take a back seat and see you lead on issues of climate change management. So thank you very much also for that video, in addition to the presentation that Nokpila had made earlier on, as well as the additional information, that is coming from the video. At this point in time, let me invite senior managers to give their reflections on the webinar, starting with Bong Musa and other senior managers. I don't have a list of them, but I will just give them as Bong Musa finishes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tabani. I think for me, I've made many comments so far. I think the one I would like to emphasize is that post this, really we have had key things that we need to do, especially strengthening our collaboration so that we can then have multiple programs and projects implemented within eThekwini and beyond. And our view as a municipality of eThekwini is that eThekwini could not grow alone without growing as a region. So in our case, the region looks like our neighbors in the west being Umgungundlovu district, our neighbors in the north being Ilembe, King Cetshwayo, as well as our neighbors in the south being Ugu district. Of course, we are not excluding others, but at least those are our immediate neighbors. Dr. Sean O'Donoghue will even tell you the partnership that already exists in how we manage catchment. We understand and accept that the water we have in eThekwini comes from Umgungundlovu district. And if Umngeni and Mpofana municipality are not doing their part in catchment management, including Umsunduzi, Umshwathi as well, then we are in big trouble in eThekwini. Equally, we will not be able to move forward unless we work together with Harry Gwala around how we manage the Drakensberg South and the rivers that provide us water, Umzimkulu, Pholela River, and many others in that way. I'm not taking anything away from Utuela district as well, but I think it just shows how interconnected we are. And then through such a work, I think we can move forward, meeting our global challenges and our local context that is ever changing, but equally ensuring that we are very systemic in our approach. We understand interconnectedness and the interrelationship between different factors of our life. While we deal with land care, we ensure that we produce food. While we produce food, we ensure that it's locally consumed. And while we do that, we ensure that we reduce our carbon footprint and live within the capacity of our environment, biodiversity to replenish itself. Of course, we have to deal with waste, and in a very integrated manner, how we deal with that, including consumerism, by the way. And most of the issues around consumerism is us who buy and do not demand particular quality assurance from the producers. I mean, I always ask, why Gouda cheese will be wrapped 4 times from that little thing that like a inofi, I don't know what you call it, like a wax on Gouda cheese, and then there's plastic on top. I mean, why would you do that? And then they'll put a foil as well, equally chocolate. And then eventually we got a lot of waste that we need to manage. And where do we put that waste, in essence? I would like also to invite Sean O'Donoghue, my brother, to say something. He always call me Mr. P, and I call him Dr. O'Donoghue, in essence. Thank you very much, Tabani and colleagues.
Thank you, Mr. B.
To Sean.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Mr. B. Very kind of you to mention me and let me go next. So my name is Sean O'Donoghue. and I'm actually to another appointment across the city, so apologies. I'm coming to you as I drive with my hands-free kit in the car. Being 52 years old, I'm incredibly over the hill and of an older generation, and I see my job, particularly in the city, as preparing for the next person coming through. And that next person is obviously going to be younger. He or she is going to be very well skilled and well versed in what intersectionality is. So personally, I'd heard the term quite a lot, and it was really nice for me to today learn a lot more about what intersectionality means, and particularly what it means to young people and hearing it from young people. And one of the most encouraging things of young people, what I think we need to do, particularly as a city, and those of us who are older and who maybe have more ability to sort of make things happen, is that we need absolutely to have the voice of young people not just heard, but the action happening. Perhaps one sort of practical suggestion I could make, we have the Durban climate change strategy, which has just gone through its first 5-year review, and the implementation plan has been developed. And one sort of item in there is a forum for sort of action for keeping us on track with implementing the strategy, and to identify opportunities for sort of implementation have to include the youth as well. So when that, we used to have the Durban Climate Partnership a long time ago, about 10 years ago, but we want to get that kind of thing going again. So there's an opportunity there. I think it's the most important thing that you can do, having seen the Fridays for Future movement going, is be the thorn in our flesh locally. Us local government practitioners, a lot of us are trying. Maybe we're not trying hard enough in the places that you want. Be the activists that you see on TV, because you can. It doesn't take anything except a strong will and a loud voice, and maybe some quick typing fingers on a keyboard or on your phone and social media. But it would be great to see you going from where you are now to a much stronger voice. And we would love to work with you in the city, and try and make our climate change strategy as inclusive as possible, with intersectionality and all that considered. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sean. We really appreciate your comments and reflections, and also somehow mapping the way forward to say where to from here, and also making reflections on intersectionality. And I think Bongmosa spoke on interconnectedness, to say the water that is being used by the citizens of eThekwini comes from the upper parts of the catchment. So it's important for Umgeni to manage Umgeni River catchment very well. It's important for Herigwala to manage the Umzimkhulu, Umkomazi catchments very well. So there is this interconnectedness in terms of issues of water resource. There is also interconnectedness in terms of issues of waste, because inland waste ends up in water causes, in drainage lines, and somehow it finds its way down to the coast, and it finds its way down to the ocean. So there is this whole lot of things that we need to manage in the environment space. Similarly, in the climate change space, we need to be able to manage the impacts of climate change, the interconnectedness in terms of air pollution, because pollution that comes from Durban South Basin, as the wind blows inland, some of it ends up inland. So there is a whole range of connection issues that we need to look at within environmental management spectrum, within issues of climate change management. So it's very much important that we actually look at those issues. Also, even in issues of improving the neighboring districts, to ensure that we minimize the rural-urban migration that is taking place, resulting in informal settlements mushrooming around our cities. So the life in general is somehow kind of an ecosystem. There's a whole range of relationships that are there that we need to manage, so that we think beyond the city into our neighbors in terms of how we manage relationships with the neighbors. So thank you very much for actually elaborating on those issues, because they are important even in our climate change discourse. Musa, back to you. I see your hand is up.
I'll also like that maybe we allow Mrs. Shembe to make a comment as well here. She's our senior manager in Integrated Safer Cities unit within the municipality.
Oh, yes. Over to you, ma'am.
Thanks, colleagues, and thanks, Musa, and thanks to the program director and moderator. Unfortunately, I was in and out of the program because of load shedding. It has been, it created a bit of a chaos. Nonetheless, I did hear some of the presentations, and I think there is a lot of innovation that is taking place around us. And in particular, I'm quite excited by the role played by the youth, which give us a great hope that we will be in a position to mitigate climate risk in the future. And this will assist the future generations if we have youth leading in climate change mitigation, as well as ensuring that we come up with innovative ideas that they have presented in this webinar, such as the one that has been presented by Unomfundo around agriculture, and the one that has been presented by Ujosh around fishing or fishery. So I think with that, we will be in a position to address issues of food security in the country, and also ensuring that at the end we have the leaders that are taking our planet in their might, and then they are able to prevent whatever that is degrading our environment in the future. And the issue of waste management, I think we almost have alluded to the fact that we seem to be losing the battle in a way, but there is some hope now that we have the climate change plan that the city is driving. So thank you very much, colleagues and all the participants.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shembe, for that input. Musa, please do advise if there are still other senior managers. I don't want to leave any senior manager behind who also needs to comment. Thank you for your valuable inputs, ma'am.
There was a hand, I think it's by Mapumula, I can't remember the name. I mean, I don't know if a colleague or a strategic partner want to make a call. There's just one question before you move to your closing marks, moderator, Memela Msutu. The Fezile Njogweni is a senior manager for Municipal Institute of Learning. Really, the issue of knowledge management or managing what we know is very important, and I would have loved to hear him. What is it that he is thinking that he can do within the space in a eThekwini municipality, of course, within that broader understanding of us moving as a region. Managing what we know is so important. Mr. Njogweni, I'm folding my head to Mr. Msutu to allow you to say something about that before Mr. Msutu move to our fantastic closing remarks by our friend and a partner in Nairobi.
Yes, please go ahead, Mr. Njogweni. The folded head is appreciated. I cannot ignore it. Over to you, Mr. Njogweni.
Maybe he is struggling with something, so we may then proceed. He will indicate if he still wants to say something. Thank you very much.
No, thanks, Mtiane. Mr. Njogweni, please do indicate if you are able to unmute and make a contribution. I think it's important what Mtiane is saying around issues of planning. It's your unit is very much important, you know, in taking these issues forward. But yeah, if you are struggling, we will move and take Mapumulo. I'll assume it's Lee Mapumulo from Salga, but the hand was from a Mapumulo. Can we give the colleague an opportunity to contribute?
It's afternoon to everyone. I think a lot has been said. Sean has covered basically everything that I wanted to say on my side. But maybe a point that I may want to make is that documentation is very key in everything that we do. I mean, I applaud eThekwini for so much work that has been done. But if we are talking youth, sometimes you know, your visual content in terms of presence in your social media spaces, YouTube, and other sort of visual documentation processes would be key to ensure that when we mobilize all of this, the youth are very much aware, because they tend to not much read on documents that are just on print. So for all our projects or everything that we do, to have an impact at a larger scale, it would be viable for future for us to just have that that visual presence. Thank you.
Thank you, Slee. That's a very important point, colleagues, to say young people are so much into media, social media, other than print media. So it's important that we make our presence felt and seen through the virtual platforms. Your YouTube, we make short videos that speak about air pollution, about you know, land pollution, videos that speak about climate change and how we can, you know, programs and projects that we can do to try and mitigate against the impacts of climate change, or also to try and adapt to the impacts of climate change. So thank you, Slee, for that. We encourage young people to package some of the actions and activities that you are already doing, you know, into those mini videos or some kind of digital posters that can be placed on social media, you know, for young people to be aware of this. So thank you very much. That's a very valuable input from our colleagues, Lee and from Salga. Ladies and gentlemen, before I give over to our colleague in Nairobi, Mr. Juma Asiago, who is the Global Coordinator of Safer Cities Program in the UN Habitat. Before I do that, because after that, we are really wrapping up, I'd like to urge you to remain until Mr. Juma has spoken. We are going to take a group photo. We will request colleagues, those who are comfortable, to please switch on their cameras so that we can take a virtual group photo right at the end. And I would like one or two, just maximum 2 young people, to just say something about the webinar. I know you have completed the form, but maybe you want to say it was informative, or you want to say, okay, this is what you can do over and above what you have started through this webinar. If I may give that to just 1 or 2 young people to say that we want to hear your voice for the very last time before we wrap up. And then Zama, quickly after the young people have spoken, please give us that particular announcement about Friday engagement. And then, yeah, we'll give over to Mr. Asiago, who is going to be the last speaker. After him, we take the group photo and we are out of here. Can I just get 2 volunteers, please? Yes, Zipo. Please go ahead.
The webinar was very informative. I'm currently doing my internship at the city of Umhlatuze as an environmental planner. And thank you for everyone, to all the presenters. It was very informative. Thank you.
Thank you, Mtiane. Thank you very much, Mtiane. And we believe that you are learning a lot at the city of Umhlatuze. And thank you, City of Umhlatuze, for hosting Umazondo for her internship. There is another hand, unfortunately. Oh, it's from Ntlanhla Mthembu. Mvelase, over to you, please.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Thank you. I'll just like to also say thank you very much to all the presenters. It was a very informative session. I'm also a Durbanite, but I'm currently based in Pretoria doing an internship in climate change research at the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. So I just felt the need to be part of this session as it is from back home, if I can put it like that. And I wasn't disappointed. It was very informative. And so thank you very much to everyone.
Thank you, Mvelase, for those words of encouragement. We really are very much happy, and we know that you are also moving and shaking things up in Pretoria. We thank the National Department for hosting you as you do your internship. Siyabonga kakhulu, Mvelase. Babzondo, Bongmusa, did you want to say something? I saw your
No,
hand
sir, my
going up and then
apologies.
down.
No, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yes, or you wanted to upload. Okay, no, I saw you uploading after raising the hand. But thank you so much to the two young people, Zipozondo and Tembo, for the reflections on the webinar. We are encouraged, young people in particular, if you found the webinar useful, and we are also encouraged to take this work forward and ensure that there are more platforms to engage young people in the future. To all the presenters, a big thank you. But that is not for me to do. It's for Mr. Juma Asiago, Global Coordinator, Safer Cities Program in the UN Habitat, to pass a vote of thanks and to close the session. Remember, don't just exit after Mr. Asiago has spoken. We are going to take a virtual group photo. Over to you, Mr. Asiago.
Thank you very much, Program Coordinator, and thank you very much to all the speakers of today's very interesting session. A lot of innovative experiences being accounted for, and just to underscore that young people are central to the cause of climate change. As we are all now clear, it's climate change has increased the levels of uncertainty about our future. And as its impact intensifies over time, one thing has become certain. We will leave the earth to today's children and young people and to future generations. And so, as many of you have emphasized in your presentations, it is time now to really have the social inclusion flag in everything we do and see young people as the experts in that future for which our actions today account for. I'd also like to mention that the United Nations has been very central at pushing this agenda at the global level, engaging youth organizations across the board in formulating declarations and plans of action. As my colleague Doug Ragan did emphasize, that the topical area of climate change and youth is interlinked to justice and to every other sphere of what we call an environmental revolution. So in the sense that we look for solutions to climate change from a sustainable development lens, is to the extent that we involve young people as the agents of change. And as we engage the young people as the activists that can actually improve our public spaces, our transport systems, our land, housing, infrastructure, and basic services across the board using systems of urban planning, urban management, and urban governance. I'd like to thank you all for this very innovative session. And as we said, this is just the beginning of a process. As many of you also did indicate, moving this beyond just an event to a project into a program. I know Durban, we always count on Durban from the United Nations point of view for the innovations that you are able to generate and showcase to the world. And in this particular reality, we hope that come the next World Urban Forum in Katowice that we host next year, we will see from this session unprecedented initiatives of young people joining the Youth Forum and being able to advocate solutions to climate change action. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Asiago. We really appreciate your closing remarks. Colleagues, friends, especially youth who are our VVIPs in this webinar, we have come to the end of our webinar. Thank you to each one of you for attending. Can I just ask Zama to give the announcement, and then we take the group photo? Over to you, Mrs. Kuzwayo.
Good afternoon. Yes, it is midday. Thank you to the youth. Thank you for trusting us in having this conversation. Like many other speakers had indicated, that this is the first of many that we are trying to accelerate into action rather than a talk shop. We hopefully from now on will be having programs that are vigorously showing that as government administration, we are really taking your voice seriously. And we hope that from this conversation, you keep on knocking at our doors, keep on challenging us to make sure that we are on track in terms of ensuring that we are building a future that you want, that is resilient for you. Here is an invitation for our Friday event, where as part of the Urban October, we are celebrating the Cities World Day, but it's supposed to be on the 31st, but everyone basically it's going to be on Sunday. So instead of hosting it on Sunday, we are hosting it this Friday. Join us as we launch our lessons learned report with regards to preparedness in terms of emergency response, and looking in terms of making eThekwini resilience towards climate change. As you might know, that disaster risk reduction and planning is part of addressing the adaptation response to climate change. So we are welcoming you to join us. I've put on a link on the registration form for you to join us. Please go to that link. We are sorry to bombard you with many links, but if you are interested in joining us, we will be having like global speakers attending, actually presenting and engaging with us in terms of how we move our cities forward in ensuring that we are prepared for any impacts that will be brought by climate change future projections. Anyway, we are currently experiencing the levels that are unprecedented in terms of climate change. But how worse will it be if we are not prepared and we are not doing anything or turning these conversations that we are doing into plans and preparing for the impacts that come with climate change? As you can see, we'll be partnering with the UN Habitat. So they will be there with us on Friday. We will have the World Bank. We will have the C40 cities. We will be joined by other cities in Africa and all the Global South cities who are suffering the similar vulnerabilities and as equivalent economic and social issues as us in the Global South of Southern Africa. So please get to learn with us in terms of what eThekwini has done to improve its preparedness against the response in disaster management, all brought by the issues of climate change and other issues. Thank you for the opportunity, Chair, to allow me this to share with the stakeholders this announcement. please use the link to register for the event on Friday. We'd like to see you then. Thank you.
Thank you, Zama. Thank you very much for that information about Friday. And it's time for the group photo. Can I please ask all those who are comfortable to switch on? What time is the event taking place on Friday, Zama? As we switch on our cameras.
The event will take place at 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Remember, like I indicated, it's a global stage event, so we are trying to accommodate the times for everyone. We have one speaker joining us from Jakarta in Indonesia, and one joining us from the far west in Washington, D.C. So this is a comfortable time or a reasonable time for us to launch or to host our event. So it will be 1 p.m. on Friday. Thank you.
Thank you, Zama. Let's please switch on our cameras, and then Ola will take, or someone will take the picture, and they will let us know once they've taken the picture.
Okay. I can see smiles. Yeah, I think we've got everyone ready. Like, are you shaking? Okay, I'm taking it now. Thank you. I think I've got it.
Thank you very much to each one of you. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the... Thank you so much. Have a blessed afternoon further, and we're looking forward to hearing from you via emails and other media, as well as to interacting with you in the future. Have a great one.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.